Hey guys, Steve here, Ponics. Today we're going to talk about
Growing with fishes. Growing with fishes.
Hey everybody, welcome to Growing with Fishes podcast, episode 330. I can't even believe that it would help if I turned my video on. It's been one of those mornings. Today we have Jordan River joining us again. Thanks a lot for joining us, Jordan.
Hey, what up, Steve? It's good to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
We also have Wes Engine. How's it going, Wes? Oh, I guess he's still connecting his microphone. We'll get to him in a moment. And I'm just all snazzy because I had to do my photos for immigration today for my long-term red stuff, and I get hopefully I have my stamp on my passport today for my long-term stuff. But I have all the paperwork done. I have all my work permit stuff done, and all the hard parts done. I just gotta get the last name. So,
Yo,
that's
big
why
up Potent Ponics, big up Jordan.
What's up, man? How's it going?
So we have a bunch of great stuff going on today. Before we get started, I got one more little thing to play here. As soon as I find the right thing. Sorry, again, guys. Normally I'm more prepared. Today's been a bit of a disaster.
It's one of those days. In the words of the great Limp Bizkit, it's just one of those days.
Fred Durst.
Yes.
If you're looking for more education on aquaponic cannabis, please consider the Aquaponic Cannabis Masterclass at apmjclass.com, featuring over 7 days of in-depth, hands-on educational content with Marty and Stephen Reisner as your guides through the aquaponic cannabis universe. We'll cover everything from construction of large commercial facilities, home-sized systems, backyard systems, nutrients, pest control, diseases, everything you can think of, and so much more. So be sure to check that out at apmjclass.com. And if you're looking for aquaponic cannabis or living soil pest control courses, please check out thepestclass.com, where we have a huge in-depth course on pest control, how to make your own biocontrols, as well as in-depth guides and identification guides for a whole slew of different pests that you might encounter in your aquaponics garden. And it's not strictly just geared towards cannabis, it's also geared towards vegetables as well. So be sure to check that out if it's something you think you might need to improve in your education.
And speaking of education, one of the best people for cannabis education we have with us this evening, Jordan River, who has all kinds of amazing classes across the country. Has been all up to all kinds of cool stuff. So what's new with you there, Jordan? I know you're working on a really cool event in Oklahoma. When I heard about what you guys are doing, and wanted to get you guys on to support you guys, especially after the shit show that happened with some of the events last year in Oklahoma. So it's nice to see some of the good people kind of leading the way with a better example.
Man, Steve, coming in hot. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate the kind words. Yes, so for first-time viewers, I am Jordan River from Growcast. That is very kind of you, Steve. We've been doing the show for a long time, and it's because of really knowledgeable guests like Steve and many others that I've been able to put on a good show for a while now and educate growers. So happy to be here. I know our audience has a lot of crossover. I love your community, man. And yeah, we're super excited. We're doing classes all over as usual, but what I'm most excited about possibly is the Community Cup, what you just mentioned, coming up in May in Oklahoma. So we've teamed up with Sherweed Forest. We're doing a whole day of education, and we're doing a Cannabis Cup. I'm really, really excited about this event. Again, it's going down May 7th, and it's here in Oklahoma City at the Oklahoma City Public Farmers Market. Steve, there's a couple things that I wanted to accomplish with this event, because I've been to a lot of events around the nation, and I really wanted to do something community-oriented and grower-focused. So there's a bunch of things that I wanted to accomplish. One was incorporate veggie growing as well. I want this mission to kind of expand out of the cannabis space. We can oftentimes be very insular, you know what I mean, in the cannabis space. To expand beyond it can be very difficult for a lot of people. So I want to bridge that gap using vegetables and tying in with the farmers market. So it's a day of education, and it's also a combined cannabis cup. Now, if I'm being perfectly honest, when I first envisioned this, I wanted an open cannabis cup where anybody can enter and it's a people's choice, right? We did run into some legal issues at that point because if you're allowing home growers to participate in a people's choice cup, you're encouraging untested flower to be consumed, right? And so that's a no-go. So what we did was we have the home growers showcase where home growers can come and submit their buds and the speakers can give them accolades. Like for instance, Brandon Rust right there might say, okay, you were my favorite of the night. You get the token Brandon Rust favorite award. So there's accolades to be won on the home grower side. And then there's a People's Choice Cannabis Cup for the licensed cultivators. So it's pretty cool. Again, it's like a cannabis cup and then also a full day of education. So it's going down May 7th. And I'm really trying to do it right, man. Bring the people together and put on a good show. Food, fun, and a lot of education. So if you were here, man, if you weren't out there in Thailand, it's a pretty good excuse to skip the cup. You're in Thailand. So I can't fault you for that, but I am very excited about it. And if you were here, you would be speaking at this thing, man, 100%.
Well, I appreciate it. Unfortunately, beginning of May is like going to be like the deepest part of our harvest of this back pay. So there's no way I can.
You're gonna be dread deep in cannabis plants in the middle of the Thai jungle. I got you.
We have somewhere between 18 and 20,000 plants now at the farm and counting. So we're,
Jesus, dude.
we're
You're doing it big. You're doing it big out there. But yeah, man, I'm super stoked on this. So just stay tuned for more. Obviously follow Growcast at Growcast on Instagram and Growcast Podcast on all the podcast platforms, YouTube, whatever.
Tons of great people. We got Brandon Rust, OK Calyx, Touched by Cannabis, Farmer John, Razo Ridge, yourself.
We're adding speakers too.
Highly knowledgeable people.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. We're going to do more of these. The next one is going to be Community Cup rosin. So we'll do a concentrate one. We're really going to try to make this event what cannabis should be. The slogan is bringing community back to cannabis. So that's our plan. I'm excited about it, man.
Yeah, man, it's fucking great. And it's always nice to see these types of organic community events rather than some of the overly corporate doom bro stuff that we've seen in the last few years.
Well, I mean, it's like I totally agree, Steve. Like I 100% agree. And there's room for everybody, right? Like these business to business ones have a different vibe. And that's not what I'm looking for. I thought to myself, what can we do different? What are other people doing wrong? First of all, a lot of these events that I've attended, you can't even smoke indoors. So like indoor consumption on the spot has to be a prerequisite, right? Another one is the judging system. Like I said, I wanted to do a people's choice. It's really, really simple. And that takes all of the power away from the judges, why a lot of people probably don't want to do it. But it's literally just a people's choice. 100 judges get flights and they each get a token. I'm really excited about it. Couldn't be more excited, man. I know I keep saying it, but it's true. So shout out to Sir Weed Forest. Shout out to all the speakers. Thank you everybody who's helping out with that Community Cup May 7th, Oklahoma. Super
That's
stoked.
awesome.
Yeah.
I know you're working on all kinds of cool stuff right now. Pull up your notes I had for this morning.
Yeah.
You had so what are some of the new classes and other stuff that you have coming up? I know you're working on some good things as well.
Thank you for asking, Steve. Yes, our next class is in 2 weeks and it's in Rockford, Illinois. And this is a home breeding course. So one of the things that we realized when we talked to my community is like, I believe that every grower should breed at least once in their growing career, right? It's so easy. It's so fun. It's so in depth. So one of the things that we found is a lot of people are like intimidated by the basic application of the breeding process, right? So we're like, okay, we'll put on a breeder workshop. How do we take it to the next level? Well, how do you take it to the next level? We turn it into a whole event. It's a 4-hour class. It'll teach you everything you need to know, but more importantly, we're going to give you a bunch of seeds to start your breeding journey. We thought if we give them a couple of each of these different cultivars, a wide variety of them, then that'll really give them a nice jumping off point. So every student gets free seeds. We'll have food on site, and it's a in-depth course from like pheno hunting and learning about what desirable traits are going to work for you, either medicinally or what have you, and all the way through to the application of the pollen, preserving and storing seeds, everything you could think of. And that's May 4th. Because, Steve, like I said, there's a lot of like mysticism and I don't know how to put this charitably, but like, I just feel like, people act like breeding is much more elevated than it actually is. Anyone can do it. Everyone should do it. You know what I mean? Cannabis is easy to breed for a reason. Like, it lends itself to this process so well. And anybody who's had an accidental bag seed pollination and they grow and find something amazing knows what I'm talking about. So we want to like tear down that wall and get as many people breeding as we can. And yeah, I think that, to be honest, I think that there are some breeders who are, they're reticent to allow people to do this themselves and teach people to do this themselves, because somehow they think that it'll put them out of business, right? Which I don't even agree with, first of all. Like, I think breeders buy more seeds than anybody. And like I said, it's so easy. So we just want to get people set up and started. And yeah, we're looking for, different ways to expand our genetic library. Steve, we've been talking about you and some of the seed work that you have. That's so fucking cool. And that's what we're looking to do with this breeder class, which we're taking on tour. So shout out to Rizo Rich. He's the man. And he's the one that's going to teach this class. I'll be there at every one. And like I said, everybody leaves with a breeder kit to go home with and all the knowledge you need, like no questions. So that's the fun part.
I heard there might even be some Thai stuff in there.
What I heard, man. That's what I heard. I really appreciate that, man. Because if you're thinking about doing this, how cool is it to walk away with, a variety of genetics to start your breeder stock? I love that each grower has, like, you talk about the botany of desire, right? Like this idea that the plant is proliferating itself by pleasing us. And what fascinates me is I talk to these different growers and they have like one or two like burning points in their mind about cannabis. So for instance, it's like, man, I just really, really like diesel terps. It's all I want. I'm thinking about starting to breed because I found a bag seed of some really good diesel, and maybe I should pop this and do a feminization. Or it's like something medicinal. You know what I mean? It's something that the plant is expressing and pleasing in this person that they becomes their whole shtick for the whole grow career, right? And so I think it's funny that everybody has those kind of unique points for what they look for. And at the end of the road, what you get to is breeding. What you get to is, okay, I know what I like in this plant. How do I proliferate this? Sure, I can take a cut and keep it around forever. That's great. But eventually you're like, I need to cross this. Maybe even do a little bit of hunting through there and do some back crossing and try to stabilize something. That's, a lot of people would argue that's the end game to a lot of this, is that botany of desire and the plant pleasing us enough to be like, let's make some more genetics. Let's make some babies. So
I think breeding is easy, but pheno hunting is hard. Finding those gems, you got to pop a lot of seeds.
And there's real luck involved, right, Steve? That's the crazy thing about pheno hunting is there's legitimate luck involved. People don't get that.
And I think that's why it's so appealing to a lot of newer people, is because you can get real lucky in the first 3 or 5 packs that you buy, find a really fucking amazing cut. You know what I mean? So that's it's almost like gambling in a way. You know what I mean? That's exactly what I was just going to say, is it becomes very appealing to someone that, like, yeah, you can get lucky in the first 12 pack you pop. Like you said, you're going to find something really, really special. Like, it's a numbers game. And I think that's an important point, Steve. And I think you would agree with this, is the phenotypical expression between these different cultivars and between the genotypes within them is so vast that it is like spinning a roulette wheel at that point. And people shouldn't be surprised if, there's differences in this pack, or if they have to hunt through 100 seeds to find something similar to that, or 1,000 seeds to find something similar to that one that they lost. It really is like a genetic crapshoot, and for better or for worse, anyone can get lucky, but the unicorns are rare, and they're rare for a reason. So it's just really, really interesting to think about that and like sample sizes and how that translates to the pheno hunt. Oh yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing that right now. Like, we found one in Algala that has the smooth edge leaves that's stable. All the other ones have, some of its sisters will throw 1 or 2 leaves and then it immediately reverts back to a normal looking leaf. And that can be really frustrating too. And what's interesting, and another component to this topic is that when you're looking for certain traits. So let's use Australian bastard cannabis, those really small, funky leaf types. You're not going to see that on an F1 at all. You'll get 0% on an F1.
Whoa.
But an F2 and an F3, suddenly that trait comes back out. So a lot of times you have to take it to an F2, 3, or 4 before you're going to start to see a large enough percentage of some of the stranger traits. If it's double recessive, you're going to have that back cross and do that way. And it's something I think a lot of people too, they're like, man, if I cross this with this, I'll get this. And it's like, yeah, but you might have to take it to an F2 or an F3 to find it. And I think that's something that maybe isn't
Really
explained
important point.
to a lot of people on the breeding side of it, on those types of trait chasing.
Super important point. You're absolutely right. And I want to talk about back crossing and ask you a question actually. But this smooth leafed variety was so cool, dude. When I saw that post, that's insane. The non-serrated cannabis. I can't believe how much it looked like. I can't believe how much we attribute the look of cannabis to that serration. When you take it away, I was looking at a houseplant suddenly. It's so cool. That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen, man, is that smooth leafed variety.
Yeah, I've only seen 1 or 2 leaves like that. I've never seen a stable plant like that. That's the first one.
That's insane. That's totally insane.
So
but
you have a lot of great genetics that you guys have in your projects, your peach quake and a bunch of other ones that have grown. What are some of the cool ones that you guys have been working with lately?
Thank you, my friend. So we like to kind of provide to the community, the Growcast community. And so our last drop was a fem drop. Anybody who's interested, you can find it at the website. But it was Riza Rich's first fem drop. So he's going to go back to his traditional breeding after this, but we really like to do what the community wants. At the end of the day, we're here to serve the community. And that was what was on the list. So aside from the fem drop though, man, I'm mostly excited about the peach quake pollination, like you said. And I would love to pull up a picture right now and just shout out a couple of people. Wolfman named a strain from the last peach quake pollination. Shout out to Wolfman. If you tune into Growcast, you'll hear more from the great Wolfman. And he named a strain Peaches on Regalia, right? Which is a Zappa reference. Well, it's really funny because this became one of the most like coveted and beautiful strains. There's 2 things that we've found with this strain in different phenos, and we haven't found them together yet. So I need the audience's help on this one. Maybe we can have somebody find them together. But the first thing we found was like a nice pink pheno, right? There's a lot of pink expression. And so that was really beautiful. And then secondly, I don't know if, oh, sorry, I pulled that off a little too soon. And then secondly, it's a really, really good hasher. So I need someone to find that pink pheno and then hash it and see what that's like. But it was yielding insane numbers. Shout out to Howitzer, Grunt Grown Howitzer, really, really talented grower. And he did some solventless extraction. So I'm really hyped on the peaches on Regalia. I want to do a hunt on it. And yeah, I just love the peach terps, that sandy trichome head that just feels like salt. It just washes so well. You know what I mean? It doesn't pop and it's not greasy, but it's also not resinous. It's just like very, very solid. That's got to be like a solid trichome barrier.
Yeah,
so
has a thicker waxier coating on a trichome head, and that one part of that too is making sure your boron levels are dialed in to make sure it has enough wax production. But part of it too is just hunting, just like you're saying, and then also too not having it too humid. If it's super humid going into later flower in your room, you can definitely thin out those walls and the wax cuticles don't develop. They tend to develop more from drier type cultivars.
And a boron deficiency might make them less sturdy. That's interesting.
Yeah, especially if you're looking at wax production, like boron toxicity can make the leaves kind of like glassy, almost like you sprayed like leaf shine on them. That's a boron toxicity signal.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting. So yeah, man, I'm really, really happy to see people hashing out these strains and see how they all come out very, very different, and see the different yields. So yeah, shout out to Wolfman, shout out to Grunt Grown. Super stoked on the peaches on Regalia. But yeah, thanks for the shout out, man. Riza Rich does amazing work, and I love that peach quake. I can't say it enough. Right now I got some Hawaiians going. I got some ice cream Wolfman crosses going. This tent unfortunately is off, or I just turn the camera and show you, but the veg tent is out of sight and looking beautiful. So I'm grateful. I'm knocking on wood. No problems this run.
Nice.
Keeping up on that IPM. Got to stay on your IPM.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And definitely haven't had a chance to grow some of the old gear, and it's definitely good stuff for sure when I was out in
Thank you.
Oklahoma. I'm just waiting here till next month to build out my side garden here, and I'll have a couple plants. I was thinking about putting at least 1 or 2 of those temple type plants out there just to have like a 20-footer, just to make the neighbors be like, what the fuck is this weird white guy
Grow
doing?
a tree.
Yeah.
Biggest strain I ever saw was I gave my buddy. So my buddy Phil was introduced to me by producer Ben, and this guy was like a sapper in Afghanistan. Like you know what I mean? The ones clearing the IEDs. Like what's that movie? The like very dramatized movie. You got it. That was them essentially. So it was like he's out there doing his thing, and I gave him a lemon wreck, and he grew this lemon wreck, which was a train wreck cross to some lemon strain. You know, I was given a tray of cuts. I never popped a seed at that point. I'd only worked with cuts. So I gave him a teen late, and he put it outdoor on the hill. And I swear to God, that thing got like 17, 18 feet tall. I'd never seen anything like it. At that point in my life, I had never seen anything like it. I was like, holy fucking shit. I'll never forget that. The humble lemon wreck. So I grew that stuff for a couple of years, and you had to be careful because the buds got so thick, you were likely to get the botrytis on the inside of those buds. That was my biggest concern with that strain. So you just brought me back with the 20-foot tree. Not quite 20 feet. To be fair, I bet it was about 16, 17 feet tall.
Speaking of big outdoor plants, you just went out to see Hawaii. How was that? Because I know you know a lot of growers families from there.
Speaking of botrytis and high humidity, let's
Yeah,
go to Hawaii.
botrytis.
It's hard to grow out there, man. Oh my God, it's really hard. That's what I learned talking to folks out there. My parents live on Hawaii. They live on the island of Molokai, which is like the desert island, right? I think there's only like 7,000 people on that island total. And there's one stoplight in the middle of town, and it's just, there's a couple of restaurants. It's really, really unique living. It's like the deserted island. It's not resorts and things like that. It's red dirt. It's full of axis deer. It's the one that Rogan did like a riff on, like all the deer are crazy. That's Molokai. There's so many axis deer that you just back out, boom, you got venison. You literally you're backing over these things. When it droughts, they actually collapse and die. You'll see them dead on the side of the road. It's a wild place. It's beautiful, but it's also kind of desolate. And there's 2 sides to the island too. Like there's a dry side and a wet side. But the dry side is really interesting because it's red dirt. So Steve, it's like super, super rich in iron, so much so that a lot of plants just won't take it. The taproot will hit that red dirt and just cook up. So the people who grow out there have to face a lot of problems. They have to face high humidity on one side of the island, super dry heat on the other side of the island, iron toxicity, soil compaction, bud worms. It's really, really nuts, but they've got some great cultivars, and that sun-grown Hawaiian, man, I swear that Hawaiian sun does something. So it's really, really nice out there. And yeah, I've got to explore a lot of the different cultivars and talk to local growers. Guy named Molokai Kevin came on my show. Just a guy that's been growing out there for decades. He doesn't have an Instagram. You won't find him doing any tours or anything like that. But he was kind enough to come on the show, and yeah, just been growing out there for 20 years. And his uncle's got the cut. Everybody's an uncle in Hawaii, and the uncle won't give up the cut. Super, super protective of a lot of the cultivars, which I respect in a lot of ways.
Well, and explain to people like what you mean by that, because people will come and slash your shit there. Like it's not like other places.
People get contentious about breeding provenance in general, man. And on one hand, I understand, which is, we built this whole thing on the shoulders of giants, and there were people doing this when it was very, very legal. I understand that, and that's important. However, I feel like sometimes people let that stuff get in the way of the overall message, like the mission of overgrow, right? Access for medicine to patients. These are what I believe are more important. Rights to grow your own, the free flow of genetics. These are the very important things. And while people should definitely get their due, right? People should be credited. people get bent out of shape about this stuff, man, about what happened in the 1990s to this plant that's been around for 2 million years. So I don't know how the irony escapes people on that one. Now, in the case of Hawaiian genetics, you're absolutely right. It's just true. Everyone that I talk to about this is like, they're very protective of the cut, like you're saying. And in one way, I like I said, I respect that preservation, because that's how you keep things pure a lot of the time, right? So it's very, very interesting in that regard. But a lot of the genetics are also unknown. These would be cultivars. There were a couple of times, shout out to my man Kai. Kai is a buddy of mine out there, and he's grown like on and off. He's like a younger guy, but he's from Molokai. He is Molokai just through and through. And I ask him, what's this cultivar? And he goes, oh, it's OG crossed with Molokai strain. And I'm going, what's Molokai strain? No one knows. It's Uncle's Molokai strain. So it really makes you rack your brain. But it's interesting because that provenance gets protected because they're protective of these cuts. And yeah, you're right. Like they get very, very protective. Everyone does over provenance and who did what. And this is mine. And you took that, or like you said, I want it back, or I'll chop down your stuff, or whatever it may be. I just think that we need to keep our eyes on the prize about bringing people together. That's what this is all about at the end of the day. You're allowed to like have your thoughts and opinions and stand firm on breeder provenance, but don't let it get in the way of the community. And the whole point of this plant is bringing people together, not pushing us apart. So that's something that I've been thinking about a lot, man.
I want to just add to what you're saying. That's how I lost some of my best cuts, was being overly greedy by not giving them to a couple people, and then had something horrible happen.
That's
and then
true
I couldn't
too.
get it back.
That is a very real thing.
I've regretted that far more than I've regretted not giving something up. Or I've regretted way more times not giving something out than I have giving something. You know what I mean?
That's a really interesting fact. So you have to give it out, because yes, you're risking it proliferating and then getting watered down and never being the same. But if you don't give it out, you're risking total loss. It's a way to protect the genetics, although it's a risk of diluting it. That's a really good point, man. I hadn't thought of it like that. And that's exactly what I do, right? Is like, I don't want to lose this peach dosi. So I gave it to 5 or 6 different close members here in the Oklahoma area. So I got it on lock, man. Like I can get a fucking fungal infection and be fine. I got it on lock. So shout out to the homies. Shout out to Shane.
It's so cool when he had his forest fire at his house. You know, how much was lost in that? As one example.
You never know.
Marty, like fucking co-founder of this show, he lost 2/3 of his seed collection because it was at his father's house where most of his growing was, and they had a forest fire, and it was more important to save the humans than to save anything else. So making sure that you either have all your seed collection in a fireproof box, or some kind of way that can survive a catastrophe, if that's an option. If I was in California or Colorado, I'd have it like in a fireproof box and a fireproof safe, just because I would, you know what I mean? Like, but here, you're in Oklahoma, like, as long as it's in a safe, even if a tornado comes, at least it'll be just stuck into someone's lawn somewhere.
Yeah, if the tornado hits, it's really going to distribute those seeds all over that's going to be real proliferated at that point.
On that note, though, when I remember after the Colorado floods in 2012 or 2011, I don't remember what year it was, hiking up Boulder Canyon and Left Hand Canyon. And because all these houses have been destroyed from the flooding, all the seed stuff got washed into the creek, and there was all of this cannabis growing all up the side of the river that had gotten washed out of people's farms or out of their houses or seed collections. So there's all these patches of just random genetics all the way up both canyons of that first year.
That is wild, man. There you go. There's multiple ways to get the job done to proliferate. Sometimes you just you hitch a ride on a flood. That's wild. The Colorado flood grown, man.
Oh yeah, Colorado flood. You have anything else that you can tell us about Hawaii in terms of genetics?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, you got to reel me in, man. I'm pretty high. I'm pretty high tonight. So yeah, I'd love to. Shout out to Good Gear Seeds. Shout out to Old Bay. A member named Old Bay introduced me to these guys, Good Gear Seeds, and they sent me some seeds and I hunted through them. So I'd like to tell you, audience members, about these cultivars. And if you like them, you should pick up something similar. If you like the profiles that I'm about to describe, I could talk strains all day, man. I mean, let me tell you, This is my bread and butter. Like I said, I think this is what it's all about. So the first strain that I grew was called Molokai Citrus Kush, and I had to grow it because it was from Molokai, right? So it's funny. It was, bred on Molokai and then from the Good Gear guys on the Big Island or whatever, and then shipped to Oklahoma. And I grew this plant, and man, it was the biggest plant in my tent. Steve, I expected it to be hungry for micronutrients because it grew in this red dirt, right? But I don't think that's necessarily the case, that it grows in a dirt, you know what I mean? It grows in a rich environment that it necessarily feeds on iron. I bet it was just resistant to that iron because it wasn't extra hungry for micronutrients. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, so a lot of time, at least, okay, so this is what I'm basing this statement off of. Let me preface it with that. In Jamaica and in Africa, we had high iron soils, just like you're talking about. It sounds very similar, but we also have super high manganese, which helps with THC expression. So we were short on cobalt, short on molybdenum, and short on nickel. There was like none. We had to add some of that, but all the rest of it was there in terms of micronutrients. Boron, we had to boost a little bit, but that was easy enough with what we were doing. So, but that tends to be like all the iron heavy stuff I've always found was high in manganese as well, which would explain at least why your cannabinoid expression was at least decent regardless.
Interesting. Yeah, I had wondered about that because I was like, okay, this thing grew in red dirt. I was ready with the extra iron. Didn't really see that issue, but the macronutrient feed was insane. Like this thing just ate and ate and ate and ate. I could not keep up with this plant. It got so big. The second time around, I had a better handle on it, but it ate a lot and it did better on 11-13. I gotta shout out the altered light cycle, something closer to what they have in Hawaii a lot of the year. So I don't know about how you feel about that altered light cycle, but this plant, they told me to run it on 11-13. I was skeptical. I did it and it finished way better. It finished more evenly. It wasn't pushing out extra growth. It was fascinating to see, man. It was fascinating to see that this thing probably did grow in that equatorial zone and probably did accustom itself to that. I don't know how you if you would back that up or not, but I saw it in an observational manner. I believe that's what I was observing.
Well, a lot of those equatorial ones, they're cued in for like a 30-minute time change, right? From night to day. That's it. But what's cool about that is you can exploit that. So a lot of them, you can run it like 18 hours in veg and cut it to like 14 or 16 and they'll go to flower. Like you don't even need to have 12. They just need to have that like 2-hour difference. And it's
right.
Like enough hormone difference. I've seen that with some equatorials in Jamaica, especially. You're screwing around with some of the test runs in the shipping containers. That was definitely one of them, one of the things that we were fucking with. But a lot of the equatorial ones too, if you give them a ton of extra light, they'll get massive. Like they'll veg so fucking fast and get, just insane substructure, especially
I was not
or
prepared.
something. You throw a little supplemental light on them for like a month and they'll get, monstrosities in size.
Yeah, man, I was not prepared for that at all. So I'm seeing, I don't think I have a picture of the Citrus Kush on my website, on my Instagram. That's a shame. So what ended up happening with this plant is I ended up with massive colas that I probably could have fed even more. And the terpenes on this plant were insane. The Molokai Citrus Kush, apparently there's some hash plant lineage in there. I was expecting some citrus and there really wasn't much lemon or lime. This thing smelled like someone threw a pallet full of Sharpie markers into a bonfire. It smelled like someone did a burnout or like Tokyo drifting through a shipping container full of Sharpie markers. It smelled like burnt rubber and burnt Sharpies and a bonfire. And I loved it. It was the loudest, most volatile thing out of my tent that run. But I think it was because it was like very volatile terpenes. Because they were very greasy, right? Super, super greasy, smoked really, really well in flower, covered in silver trichomes, like beautiful shining. But I bet if you I'd like to see how that washed. I bet it would do better in a solvent extraction or something because it felt very, very greasy to the touch. And yeah, that was my first experience growing something. I mean, I'd grown like a landrace cross from like Heart and Soil, shout out Brett, like Afghan crosses or things like that. But I think as far as exotic strains that I've grown, that might have been the number one, was the Molokai Citrus Kush. Ended up smelling so delicious. So yeah, just really, really unique. What I preferred some of the peach stuff in the Ice Cream Wolfman myself, but if you like cerebral, hard hitting, but not fruity equatorials, this one is for you. Funky and dirty, but still kind of has that je ne sais quoi from the tropical side. Yeah, really good shit, man. The Molokai Citrus Kush.
That's awesome. Have you found any other particular interesting terpene things in the last year in terms of terpene profiles or like unique smell stuff? We've been finding all kinds of weird, funky stuff that I've never smelled before. We have one that's like a super, super like sour warhead vanilla. Like I've never smelled that combo before.
Oh, I love that sour stuff, man. I remember some really good sour weed when I was younger. Like I never got the roadkill skunk that everybody was talking about. Everybody like reminiscing on this roadkill skunk. I didn't get that in high school. I've talked about this before. You know, I got the cat piss and stuff like that. That like when we imported weed from California, it'd be really good California cat piss. But then the other day I was remembering I would get some sour, some real sour, like you're describing, like a warhead type sour. I'm not sure who's working on that stuff right now. Let me know. I'd like to know. But I remember like not so much the sour diesel, just like straight sour strains.
Well, I
What you're
have like
describing.
6 different sour strains.
Well, there you go.
I got
Aquaponics
you.
is the man to know. I am
Yeah.
fucking game because I remember that. I remember that terp profile.
Shout out Infamous Gardens. The sour OG is ridiculous.
Oh, well, I mean, come on. Can't go wrong. I love a good OG. I'm going to pop some Blackwater OG next. Shout out to Flower Farm. He gave me some really good seeds that I'm excited about. But yeah, what I've found this year, what I found this last year, one of the most unique, definitely the Molokai Citrus Kush. My favorites, Creature Feature. Rhizo Rich's Creature Feature. This is Ice Cream Wolfman on one side, which is a Rhizo Rich strain. That's created from Compound Genetics Ice Cream Man crossed to Rhizo Rich's F Berry. That's how we got Ice Cream Wolfman. That one's really, really nice. Apricot, creamy ice cream, huckleberry, chocolate, all comes out of that Ice Cream Wolfman side. And then the Creature Feature is the Ice Cream Wolfman male pollinated to TK Lotto, Triangle Kush by Gelato. And I'm not the biggest gelato fan. I'm gonna be straight up with the audience right now. I'm not the biggest gelato fan, and I've hunted a lot of Creature Feature. And this strain is now sold out. It's Growcast Seed Co., but it's gone. But I'm going to convince him to work it more. Anyways, so I've hunted this a lot, and when I find one that's like Gelato 2.0, I scoot it right out of my tent. But what you find are these sour milk, sour, foul gelato, white chocolate terps. Really, really unique shit. The one that was like the most kind of sour milk from a cereal bowl leftover one, I lost. That's what I call the Creature Feature 1. And it was so good, and I don't have that one anymore. It was lost between the fungal infection and the move. I ended up resetting, and I didn't get the Creature Feature 1 back. So that was sad. But then the Creature Feature 3 that I got, this one is very complex. Everyone I hand it to says it smells like something different. To me, it smells like white chocolate, like Ghirardelli white chocolate. But I've heard everything from sweet to berry to piss to foul. It's just one of those ones. I've talked about this before, but like, Steve, I almost look at flavors like a, what is that thing called? An EQ visualizer with music, where you on the left side, you got the low end. So when the bass is up, you know, that one's raising. And on the right side, you have the treble, the high end, and that one's raising up. That's exactly how I see taste with cannabis and with everything. And you know, that low end kind of like coating your mouth. That's all the low flavors, foul, funk, nasty low end stuff. And then the earthy might be above that towards like that middle range of savory and flowery, working your way up to the treble, like the higher end, brighter notes. You know, you get into the fruits and things like that. I kind of see flavor as that EQ graph, that visualizer from your Windows media player, for those who are old like me. And sometimes you get a one-dimensional strain that's just like a spike on the EQ graph. And sometimes you like that one-dimensional strain. holy shit, this strain tastes just like coffee. Every time I sniff it, it tastes like coffee. It only tastes like coffee. It only smells like coffee, but it smells like coffee. Those are like one-dimensional strains, which I like, right? A lot of the time, if you like that one dimension. But then there's ones that are super complex. Maybe you could call them full spectrum, and the audience knows what I'm talking about. This is the one where you go back in for 4, 5, 6, 12 sniffs, just trying to put your finger on what the fuck you're smelling. That is a complex flavor. That's a full spectrum, well-produced beat on that EQ graph. And that's what I got with the Creature Feature 3 and a lot of strains this year that blew me away. I just found myself going back in over and over and over. And I think that that's what people fucking love. Real connoisseurs love that complex, can't put my fucking finger on it type terp profile.
Almost like a really good pluout or a really good wine that has like that evolving flavor where you're trying to find all the different notes in it. Yeah, I totally feel you.
100%. Yeah. Front end, back end, exhale. Getting a strain that tastes like it smells, that's a hard one, right, Steve? I mean, you don't see that a lot. There's a couple of strains that I just wish would taste just like it smells, but that's rare.
Well, and what's interesting too, so let's use an example of chocolate terps. The ones that smell really chocolatey don't often, sometimes they do, but often they don't taste very chocolatey. But the ones that smell like an electrical fire, like a burnt plastic bag, those ones taste like chocolate once you combust it. So I always thought it was weird that like one of them smells like chocolate, but a different one tastes like chocolate.
Yeah, that's
I always thought that was like a really bizarre trick on the human senses. But there's that's just one example of many, you know.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Right now in front of me, I got some beautiful, just nice. This is It's Fire by Jinx Proof. This one smells like it has a really nice menthol terp. You ever get that like nose opening, almost eye watering menthol? It's really nice. Stuff makes me like alert and like this is great for a show. It still gets me fucked up, don't get me wrong. Like I'm going to smoke more of this and I'm not going to be able to speak soon enough. But that particular menthol terp I feel like is really, it's energizing. I like it a lot.
Nice. I've been really digging hard on this. I got some blueberry from Infamous Gardens out in Boron, a great little shop out there. And blueberry is fucking fire, man. It gets me, it rings my bell almost as hard as banana terps too. So.
Rings your bell, nice.
Yeah.
Nice and stony.
Yeah, just like you smoke it, and you're just like, fuck, I'm fucked up right now.
Too high. That's what I like. I like
not necessarily too high, but like within like 2 minutes, you know that you just smoked a bowl. There's no like, oh, did I hit that? No, you know you hit that.
You can't just power through this type of stone. I like that, man. I like I'm too high. You know, I can't ignore this. It's so strong. I like my eyes are falling. Like my eyes are so heavy, I can't keep them open. Those are the effects that I'm after. You know, I think other people have more nuanced things that they chase, like creativity and, you know, uplifting this or that. But I really like those sedative strains. So, yeah, I guess I got to get to know those particular terpenes, right? You know, I've been told terpinolene, but I've also been told terpinolene is uplifting. I've literally heard the two opposite things about that terpene. But I don't know. Yeah, I really like the sedative effects. The peach dosi was really, really nice. That was very sedative.
We did an open pollination with some dosies last run, and the banana punch dosi dough. The seedlings on that are some of the best looking plants that we have in the whole new collection. Reeks of banana, and it's on like node 6, and they're only like 6 inches tall. Like they're super squat and dense as hell and loving the sun. I think it's going to be a good one.
I love those banana terps. Like real banana. I like the fake kind of banana candy too, but like real banana peel terps. That's my shit.
I think one of the more interesting ones that we have right now, we have the Siam Syrup V2. It's another one from Humus Gardens. That's just heavy on the guava, peach, mango terps, like all at once, but specifically on the guava. And it's just has that unique, like fermented, fully ripe guava smell that's just so hard to find. and good. I haven't found any that smell like this, not this loud at least.
Yeah, those guava terps are really nice. We had a space guavas that was really, really nice on that guava terp, that sweet tropical. Like you said, I feel like all those tropical fruits almost have a ripe vibe to them. Like papaya, it just tastes like it's got that, not rotten, but it's really, really close to that, I feel like. So yeah, I love the tropical terps, man. Here, let me pack a pipe here. Is that okay? Can we do that? Are we gonna get in trouble for that on here?
For what?
No, I see you've been smoking.
Oh yeah. You've had a lot of great guests on lately. What's some of the cooler guests that you've had on? Some of the more interesting episodes, and then some of the more interesting things that you've learned with some of these more recent guests that you've had on since last time you've been on.
Well, let's see. I did just do a class with Nick. Shout out to Nick from Rooted Leaf. It was great doing a class with him, and he's come on the show a couple of times. And yeah, we just get into all sorts of stuff, man. It's a lot of fun. When we were talking about calcium, he was talking about this phenomenon known as calcium waves that I had not heard about before. Like this intracellular exchange of calcium. Like even though it's an immobile nutrient, it's like got this ability to transmit between cells. And it kind of became this trippy conversation, which is like the connectivity of all things and this ability to exchange energy. It took this very like meta turn. But I ended up looking up some of the papers on calcium waves and this idea that calcium does move even though it's immobile. And when you, for instance, there's a wound in your plant, calcium waves occur where there's like a wash and a backwash right from the origin of the source of the wound. Very, very interesting stuff. And that high level stuff is hard for me, man. Like I'm not a Steve Reisner here. I can't just dig into these research papers and retain that type of information. I need someone to break it down for me and be like, okay, well, imagine you got a hard-boiled egg, right? Like you got to give me an analogy here. You got to give me something I can wrap my head around. So yeah, it helps. It helps to talk to people like you, to talk to people like him, kind of break it down for a layperson. But yeah, it was interesting to talk about calcium moving from cell to cell, an immobile nutrient being rather agile. And I'd never heard of that. So I was reading up a little bit on the calcium waves. So, still learning, still a student, right? Like the more you learn, the more there is to learn.
Not only that, but think about like just how different everything is now from when we were in school. Like we weren't even taught about archaea. Right? Like
yeah, I mean
there's a whole massive group of microbes that we're now studying constantly. So
we weren't taught about a lot of things, Steve. You're absolutely right. We weren't taught about health, let alone microbiology, which is a key to health. Can you believe that? We weren't taught about, like you said, we weren't talking about gardening, how to be self-sustainable, how to be happy. We weren't taught any of those things, man.
Well, interesting point on the health thing. It's something I often talk about when I teach classes. Everyone listening to this show has probably spent hours and hours and hours reading up on cannabis nutrients, right? How many hours have people listening to this show thought of and researched their own nutrient requirements the same way as they do with plants?
I'm guilty of that.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's silly, but when you put it in that context, it's like, oh damn, like I should probably look that up. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I always found that interesting that people
You're so
like,
right, man.
Yeah, they don't think about themselves in that same context as like they are a plant or type creature that needs its own nutrient balance in the same way that their ganja does. So
to that point, I was going through some serious health issues at one point in my life. And at this particular time, I went to a functional medicine doctor who took my blood and said, I'm going to look at your nutrient levels. We're going to do all these different samples. And he tested my acid levels. Dude, it was like $300 and something. And that was a lot of money to young Jordan. I was like, God damn, like I'm suffering. I got to invest in this. I felt so much fucking better when he got those numbers back and gave me these fucking, I couldn't fucking believe it. I was like malnourished and I didn't even know it. To your point, it's absolutely true. And you would probably spend a $300 test if you knew it would, make your plants 100 times better. But when it comes to your own body, you're like, 300, fuck, I don't know. Like you gotta change
Right.
those priorities. Steve, you nailed it. That's really funny.
The biggest thing is just eat a diverse range of greens, eat seafood at least once or twice a week, and don't eat too much red meat, and you're good. Like it's not that hard. You just have to don't eat the same shit every night, basically.
I need to eat more greens, bro. But yeah, I got on the vitamin train, and it changed a lot, and some gut health stuff. And yeah, that is a big. I used to do the Coffee Health and Science podcast, man. I'm thinking about rebooting that show. But like that, I feel very strongly about this stuff, Steve. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, the plants nutrient deficiency. You know what I mean? You're snacking on some Doritos, watching these plants. How can I feed these plants better? That's me.
So you've been working with some cool handicap stuff too to help people with disabilities grow cannabis. So do you want to touch on that? Because I thought that
Yes,
was really
sir.
cool.
Thank you. Shout out to Canna Capable, my buddies at Canna Capable. We have the Order of Cultivation, our little family, our membership program. And in there, we have a couple of esteemed members. Shout out to Crazy Legs. Yes, that's right. Crazy Legs, my main man. And as well as Geeky. They run Canna Capable, which is a group of wheelchair bound cannabis growers. And they have all sorts of tips and advice on how to do this. They have the website up. No way. So obviously, they're like instantly a tight knit group. Like everybody who joins loves the family. This website might be in the works. Yeah, it looks great. So shout out to Canna Capable. We have been they were kind of born out of our membership, right? So I'm just helping them and supporting them however I can. And they're going to be at the upcoming class in Rockford, but more importantly, we're going to be putting on some meetups. So we got a vendor day, for instance. Shout out Next Level Garden Supply. They're our buddies in Rockford. I really want to shout them out. I love those people. And they support Canna Capable, and they support Growcast and home grower education. So I'm really just excited to be a part of this. Geeky and Crazy Legs are like friends of mine. So it's just really cool to see this. And it changes the way you think about everything, Steve. Like when you're gardening and in your full health, it's hard enough. You know what I mean? You really start to break down every little thing you have to do for your tent. And when I think about it, automation, there's a lot of different ways to automate. It's really gotten me thinking about like hands-off approaches and where the most physically intensive parts lie, right? I was thinking about plant training and how intensive it is to FIM a tent and scrog a tent. Like that's a whole kind of labor division in and of itself. And certain growing styles, like for instance, if you take plant count out of the equation and you do smaller plants at a higher amount, right? And you fill that canopy with plants that you don't really even need to top and that'll support themselves a lot of the time, certain cultivars. Now you just took that support out of the equation. It's one of the reasons that we need to raise plant counts, man. What I just fucking said, which is you're trying to say that, okay, you got to get a medical card. You got to be real sick to grow in order to grow. That's when we're going to give you a license. Okay, now you got your license, but you're only allowed to grow 5 plants. Well, that means you're going to have to grow these big ass plants, which is really hard to do. Like there's a lot of training involved. There's a lot more time involved. There's a lot more physical interaction involved with those types of growing. You should eliminate that plant count, throw down a bunch of seeds and have smaller plants to support themselves. It's just a really interesting thing. And Canna Capable got me thinking in like a different light on like labor division and automation. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to automate now.
That's wonderful. Definitely cool to see people working down that space. We worked on a bunch of that when I worked with the aquaponic source. We had a whole system built out just for people in wheelchairs that they could reach that were not quite as deep. Again, they don't have the same kind of ability to lean over or anything like that we do. So you can definitely adapt systems to people that have those needs.
Yeah,
it's definitely cool to
100%.
see people promoting that.
So they got a Discord, find Canna Capable. There's a website up, and they find them on Instagram. They are also on Instagram at Canna Capable. So get in their Discord if that resonates with you.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to get automated again too, man, because people think about automation and they think about like what I used to know as automation, right? Drip systems on a timer, in cocoa most of the time, right? That's how I've seen automated setups kind of been how they've been run since when I first started growing. But now I see a lot more of this like living soil type automation, like you get a blue mat type water system with one of the soaker hoses, and you get a living soil bed. It's a whole different type of automation. I think that that's going to be my next grow style, because right now I'm on liquid organics, but I want to get something that I can just leave town. You know what I mean? Have you ever had that setup, Steve? I mean, does that work? Forgive me. Forgive me. Does that work with aquaponics that way? Can I walk away from aquaponics for 10 days or no?
Yeah, no, in fact, that's one of the things Marty and I always joke about is like, we can go away for 4 or 5 days and like not, or, as long as I've pruned everything and it's not gonna grow into the lights, like everything is fine.
Right.
So,
Well, you get the 4 inches of vertical growth a day. You might have to run into that problem a little bit quicker.
I'll tell you what, man, now that we got everything dialed in with the fish fermentation, and we're getting like, not quite as fast as aquaponics, but we're certainly getting on maybe 2/3 of the growth that we're getting with aquaponics with the living soil now with this rapid fish fermentation. So,
Oh, you know what? My producer has told me I'm being told that was not the website. So make sure to follow Canna Capable's
oh, my bad.
IG.
I
No,
apologize.
that's okay. That's okay. That's fine. That was okay. No
What is
problem.
what is the proper one?
I will find them there. Canna Capable on Instagram. I mean to blow up your spot. Yeah, my shout out to producer was just on that. Canna_capable on here. I'll share my screen on Instagram. Here's where you can find them.
I apologize, guys, on that one.
No problem, man. So
Perfect.
Canna Capable on Instagram. Shout out. Yeah, man, I'm excited. We've got a lot of big things planned this year. Like I try to stay busy, right? And I want to do more live events. I said this on your show, I believe, as well, which is everybody kind of went real digital and real isolated, right? During the big thing. So now I want to bring people back together, do the in-person thing. That's what I said. And it worked. Like that's what's happening. These meetups that we have going on. There's a Florida meetup, February 25th. We've got classes, like I said, and we get people together. So we break bread with each other. We swap genetics. We smoke together. And it's been a really, really good time, man. Yeah. I just got to get you out here, or better yet, I'll get out there. That's
you need to come out here. That's what we need to do is do a Bangkok summit and do something fun out here in Southeast Asia. And yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it's not in stone yet, but there is something in the works for a cannabis event, and then like a week-long seed hunter tour. We'll go around and tour a bunch of cool Thai farms and everything. You guys get a chance to meet growers and things like that, and make it like a whole like immersive cannabis Thailand experience, which I think people are going to be really, really interested in. So it's in the works, in the planning phases right now, but it's coming, guys. We got some cool shit planned for you guys.
Oh man, I'm there. Yeah, get some good Thai food, go see the farms. Nice big event, get everybody together. I am there. I'm all in on that.
All righty. Well, I don't want to take up your whole morning, or I guess evening where you are. Morning my time.
It's morning where you are. That's right. This is fun, man. Yeah, I got really stoned. I hope I did okay. Audience members, thanks for hanging. I got really, really high. It's always good chatting with Steve, with Wes. It's cool smoking together. I like that. I like that. So thank you guys. I appreciate you.
Always fun. Always enjoy having you on. I miss hanging out with you, man. We used to hang out on a regular basis up in Oklahoma, but yeah, it's definitely looking forward to seeing you. And I will be doing an American tour at some point this year, but I got to get a harvest or two down first before I walk away for a couple days.
Nice, man. Nice. Well, we will be ready. We'll fucking smoke some good rosin out here, and then I might just hitch a ride back with you. So
right.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. And we got to kick it soon. We got to kick it soon.
And if you guys want to check out more of Jordan, you can check him out over at the growcastpodcast.com, and then at Growcast on Instagram.
and at Growcast on YouTube.
That's right. Come and give us a follow. Hey, there's the episode that I mentioned right there at the top. Steve, we'll get you back on the show. We got a bunch of people coming on every Monday. We drop an episode, so you can look forward to that. Every Wednesday, we do Growcast TV live for the members. Membership is awesome. We do a ton of giveaways in there. There's members only discounts. We'll solve your plant problems 24/7. Mary Beth Sanchez is in there. She's in there exclusively now. She's not even on Instagram. She's really only doing work with us. Shout out to the great Mary Beth. I love her dearly. And yeah, just check us out. All of our classes at growcastpodcast.com/classes. Our good friend Matthew Gates, we're going to be just doing something really, really big. Spoiler alert, it has to do with pests, but there's way more coming up. So just check it out. You see all the meetups up there as well. So more on the way. And thank you, Steve, for having me. Just subscribe to Growcast, everybody. That's where you'll hear all about it.
And check out he has an awesome Patreon as well. It gives you access to the Discord. There's all kinds of fun shenanigans that we're up to on there all the time. So.
Yeah, Steve's in the Discord as well. So I appreciate you popping in voice chat, dude. Fucking voice chat gets rowdy. Shout out to the voice chat heroes. Especially
if it's like early morning American time. I have nobody to talk to at that time of day here. So.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's right, man. Basically 24/7, you know. Shout out to everybody. We got members in Pakistan, man. We got members in Netherlands, and anyways, it's a good time. It's a good time. Thanks for having me, guys. This was really dope. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Always love having you on. Always love collaborating, and we'll definitely come up with some cool stuff here soon for the community, as always.
Love it.
And you guys can find me. I'll be actually traveling to Bangkok next week, and then down to Pattaya for a day or two, and then we'll be headed east to go see some more farmers down closer to the Laos border, and then heading up north, or Cambodian border. I'm sorry, yeah, Cambodian border on that side. Headed down that way, and then headed up north to Buriram, and then over. So I'll be on a bit of a strain hunting tour with a friend of mine. We'll be checking out some nature stuff, checking out some farms. I'll have beans with me. If you're anywhere down in that area, message me online at Aquaponics or on Instagram, and then we'll meet up. But I'll have stuff with me to trade, and we'll definitely be wanting to film some stuff and show off what people are doing down there. So hit me up if you're going to be doing that. There will not be a show next week and the week after. Again, I have a friend visiting from Canada, so I'm taking my long-deserved break after working basically every day since I got here. So time to take a break for a few days. But definitely check it out, and we will have content available for you. Again, I'll have all kinds of cool videos going up while I'm traveling. It's not like one people stuff you guys check out. There just won't be the normal live stream for the next 2 weeks, at least for the show. And then I think Wes is going to hold down the other show for us while I'm away, and we'll see, depending on where I'm at, my signal in my pocket.
Yeah, man.
How do people find you there, Wes?
Well, the best place is over at That Smoke Show. We like to hang out there every Wednesday night. Evolving cast. Always lots of new friends and faces and interesting discussions over there. But and you can also find me on Instagram as Wes Engine. And yeah, man. Awesome.
And you can find me at Growing with Fishes podcast or Ponics, all the podcast apps. Aquaponics.com, OpenNutrientProject.com, and then we have our classes, which you guys saw earlier in the episode, APMGclass.com and thepestclass.com. I do have a nutrient class that I, at some point, will have time to finish filming. That will be up at some point this spring. I just have to finish editing it and finish the last couple of slides in terms of filming. So that'll be available, and that's an in-depth course on nutrients and microbes for aquaponics that's geared towards all crops. Which I think is badly needed. There isn't really a good top to bottom on that in the market. So you guys will really enjoy that. And then just a ton of cool content. I mean, where the farm is really about to pop off on all cylinders. The transformer will be turned on today or tomorrow. And then we'll finally have power across the entire farm, and we'll really be off to the races. So you should check that out. We're about to make the farm 3 times bigger in the next couple of days.
Fuck
and if
yeah.
you haven't, I posted a cool walkthrough on YouTube yesterday and Instagram this morning. The farm. Check that out if you want to see what I've been up to. All right, guys, take it easy.
cheers. A big shout out. I did want to give a quick thank you to I want to make sure I mentioned his name right. Hooked us up with a bunch of great seeds out here in Thailand this week. His name is Nantabhat on Instagram. Great dude. Hooked us up with a bunch of old school skunk stuff, a bunch of old UK cheese, like a bunch of just insane fire genetics that he's collectively used that like how he got them, I don't know, but a bunch of Mephisto packs and a bunch of just crazy shit that he's hooked us up me and Kantai with. So big thank you to him this week, and big thank you to the homies. And well, I don't know, I'll thank them later. I don't want to get them in trouble. But big thank you to the other homies who hooked us up with seeds. I'll leave it at that. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. Again, no show the next 2 weeks, at least for this. There will be content at the normal time. We will not have a live show. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.